Greetings, Orangeburg County School District students. Mr. John here, Director of Student Services, and on behalf of our department and our entire school district, we want to take some time to encourage you. Anytime you hear somebody say they want to encourage you, or if you hear that word encouragement or encourage, that means someone is going to put courage in you or remind you of the courage that is already in you. That's a lot of what I want to do right now in these few moments with you. Would you give me permission to encourage you? Thank you for that answer. Now, whether you answered or not, or whatever answer you gave, you know the answer is going to be yes. Listen, I want to encourage you because you deserve it. I want to encourage you because you have shown so much courage already that sometimes, anytime our courage is being challenged, I'll say it like this: if our courage is being challenged, meaning when things come up against you that almost make you feel like you don't have courage, that is your courage being challenged. If somebody says something to you or about you that you don't like, and you would love to say something right back or do something right back to them, the courage is not to retaliate. The courage is actually to respond by continuing to be who you are. What do you mean by that? Sometimes challenges try to make us be what we're not. That's why you have so many times where you hear so many times of people doing things that they thought they'd never do, or they're committing acts that are just dangerous or just not appropriate, and because it got them out of character. And somebody made them, or according to them, somebody made them act out of character. When in actuality, they just did not display the courage inside of them. They didn't show their courage. Courage is when you can stay who you are, even when things or people try to make you be who you're not. I'll say it again. Courage many times is when you are able to stay who you are when you have people and things sometimes trying to make you be who you are not. I want to encourage you to be who you are, and who you are is a champion. The title of this session is Present Overcomers Become Future Champions. Again, present overcomers become future champions. Overcomer, what does that mean? Well, you can look at the word. It's a compound word. Overcome, overcome, overcomer. An overcomer is somebody that does what? Come over something, whether it may be a challenge that you had to face. You came over that challenge. It might be a test that you studied for, and you knew it was a challenging test, but you studied really hard. You did the work, and then you took that test. You overcame that test, the challenge of that test. Even if you didn't do the best you wanted to do, because you did your best, you overcame that challenge. See, overcoming challenges doesn't mean you're not going to have weaknesses exposed. As a matter of fact, when you come against challenges, when you have to overcome challenges and it does expose some weaknesses, watch this. That means you also have an opportunity to improve. Because when you do your very best and a weakness is exposed, or you do your very best and you find out there's something you need to work on, that is the best way to find out what you really have when you give all you have, when you give your very best. Let's be honest, students. You know, sometimes when you didn't do your best and you got the results back, or a test, or when you got some feedback or an answer back, or somebody told you that you should have done better than that. On the inside of you, you already know that. You know how much work you put in, practice you put in for that game, or study you put in for that test, or details you put in cleaning that room. You know, students, come on, you're talking to Mr. John here. You know when you're doing your best and when you're not. And see, doing your best is not when it's time to perform. Let me help you with something. Doing your best is not when it's time to take the test. Doing your best is not when it's time to play the game. Doing your best is not when it's time to do the work at the job that you have, or when it's time to show how clean your room is. Doing your best is what you've done to get ready to show your best. It's called preparation. That's called the process. What you do before you show what you do. A lot of times people think the work is done in front of people, but the real work is done when no one is watching. I want you to think about that. I want you to be more passionate about what you do in private than what you do in public. I know I have some adults that's eavesdropping on this one, and that's going to help them too. I know it helped me. The real work is when you spend more time in private, getting it in, grinding, working hard, doing what you gotta do so you can do what you want to do. What do you mean by that? When your parents say, if you want to go outside, you better clean your room. Well, going outside is what I want to do. Cleaning my room is what I gotta do. And sometimes what we gotta do and what we want to do are two different things. Sometimes what we gotta do and what we want to do don't even add up. We're like, sometimes we don't even want to do it. But can I help you with something, y'all? You really gonna love this. This really helped me and my kids and my family, my wife too. What you gotta do sometimes is longer than what you want to do. Oh boy, I just said something. I want to go to Carowinds. I gotta take a long drive to get there. I want to go to Carowinds. I gotta sit in a long line. Because let's say you might live right around the corner from Carowinds, but you still have to go through a process of going through a line, finding a parking space, if it's a ride you want to ride, long lines. Meaning you might wait in line. Let's talk about waiting in line. If you say, I don't drive long, let's talk about waiting in line. If you wait in line for a what is a ride you like, Carowinds or Six Flags? Call it out. Okay, all right. What if maybe a roller coaster or a water slide or whatever? If it's very popular, it's going to be what? A long line, a long wait. And that long wait may take 20 minutes, 30 minutes even. But how long is that ride? I wait 2 minutes. That ride is like 3 minutes. And that thrill and that excitement only lasts 3 minutes. And you waited for 23 minutes. What do I mean? What am I saying? What you gotta do is wait in line. What you wanna do is ride that ride. And what you gotta do was longer than what you wanted to do. So why am I saying that? Because if what you gotta do is gonna take a long time, it might be in your best interest to truly value and embrace what you gotta do. And if you can, try to enjoy what you gotta do. So what do people do if they're waiting in line for a long time? They may get on the phone. They may strike up a conversation with someone. They enjoy that. I know when I waited in line, long lines, don't laugh, but I waited in a long line to see Mickey Mouse. It wasn't my fault. My wife made me do it. My kids made me do it. We waited in a long line to see Mickey and Minnie. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I was excited a little bit. I'm not going to tell you that I got nervous. I'm not going to tell you that I almost screamed to meet Mickey and Minnie. My whole family did, but I was tough. You know what I'm saying? But I waited in a long line to see them. And while waiting in that long line, and I enjoyed the process of waiting in line with my family. Talking about what we're going to do and waiting the right way, not trying to cut lines. What am I saying? When you're waiting or when you're doing what you got to do, not just about waiting in line, it could be that drive to get there. It could be what it's going to take to get you to go outside, cleaning your room. Well, don't shortcut that process. Don't shortcut what you got to do. Because if you shortcut what you got to do, you're not going to truly value what you want to do. And as you get older, you're starting to feel bad about being someone who doesn't play by the rules, who's unfair, who cheats. Don't be a cheater. Man, one of the worst things to be is a cheater, because when you cheat, you don't get to learn. You don't get a chance to grow because you cheated. And when you cheat, you almost are now an example of what not to do to get what you want to do. That doesn't help the world. That doesn't help people. It doesn't help you, because you don't know that what you needed to do when in the what you gotta do phase is what's making you. Everything you got to do is developing you. What you mean? Waiting in line is developing me? Yes, teaching me patience. Waiting in line is helping me to understand that things that are worth getting is worth waiting for. It's a process. I want you to understand that. I want you to learn that. And so my last few minutes with you is going to be pretty much a call to you. You know, like when somebody gets on make a phone call. Now, the phone call only works if someone answers the call. Well, I'm calling you today. I'm calling you out. Yeah. If you want to be a future champion, I want to empower the overcomer in you. So I'm calling you to be a present overcomer. I'm calling you to do what you got to do. Meaning you might not want to get on virtual. You might not want to go to class. You might have now more ability to not go to class. It used to be harder back in the day to cut class, but now it's easy to cut class because you can just cut off your phone, cut off your screen, cut off your computer. But now, times like these really show what's really in you. And I want you to demonstrate that what's in you is something that is greater than someone who just wants to get by. I talk to my kids all the time about not having a get by mentality. Don't be a get by person. Don't be a person that just folds up clothes just to get it over with. I'm very detailed like that at home. Don't be a child who just wants to clean the kitchen up just to get it over with. No, I want you to pay attention to detail, because those details are going to be the thing that develops you. Making my bed develops me? It does. Ask my mom. Another embarrassing story. My mom would always get on us about how we can be better, about what we can be when we grow up. She would always see people on TV that are doing great things, men that were doing phenomenal things in their community, and she would call me out of my room, my brother out of his room, or our room, my little sister. We'd sit down and she'd just lecture us about being a future champion, but being a present overcomer first. And she would show examples of people that were doing great things. And she would say, you can do this. She always told us what we can do. Parents, if you're listening, tell your children what they can do and not just tell them what they can't do. But students, my mom would always say, what you can do? You can do this. And here's what she said. If you want to be that, you can do it if you make up your bed. I'm like, as I would be, and I never said it out loud, but I said in my head, what does making up my bed have to do with being a great person or doing great things in life or doing great things in my community? Why does making up my bed have to do with anything? As I got older, I realized the more I made up my bed, I realized, if I can do something like make up my bed, control what I can control, the more I do that, the more I'll be able to take on other responsibilities that I can control, that I can start and finish something. Making up your bed is starting and finishing something. Making up your bed is the first opportunity that I have when I get up in the morning to be successful, is to show me that I can do something, that I can finish something, that I can be great at something, even as simple as making up your bed, because I can pay attention to details. So I want you to be a person that pays attention to detail, because those things, like I said earlier, develop you to be who you're going to be. You're not going to be this age forever. Wow, you never thought about this? Like, you growing up, like that doesn't spook you out a little bit? Okay, all right, it does. It's kind of weird to me sometimes when I see a person that was here, like my students behind me. That was when I taught at Marshall Elementary School in Orangeburg County. I'm looking at my students. Some of them, these are kids that like 9 years old. That was my third grade class. Yeah, they're like 9 years old, 8 years old. But now, most of them are like 21, and they've got beards, deep voices, or more mature voices for my ladies, and they're taller. Many of them, if not all of them, are taller than me. And I am almost towering, except for one student, towering over them. I'm very taller than them. And they grow, and they grow, and they grow. And that's pretty amazing to see kids grow right in front of you. What does that tell me? That tells me that who you are right now is not who you're going to stay or the way you're going to stay. And who you are is going to be developed. Who you are is going to grow. So if you're going to grow, you might as well grow the right way. If you're going to grow, you might as well grow with some information that's going to help you become a future champion. So I want you to answer the call. C-A-L-L, call. The C stands for I want you to be courageous. I said it earlier. I want you to be courageous. Being courageous is not copycatting what negative people may say you should do when somebody bothers you. Man, sometimes I get so upset when I hear grown people or adults, even in music, saying things that are negative, that are devastating, that are painful, that are talking about hurting people. And they're saying it to a beat or to a rhythm that makes people think, oh, that's a happy thing to do because they're dancing to it or they're singing to it. And it's not. It's hurting to our community. It's hurting to the minds of our young people. And it bothers me because it shows the total opposite of what it means to be courageous. And students, I want you to know that you can be courageous enough by sometimes ignoring people that will try to make you be who you're not. So I said earlier, being courageous is being who you are when things and people try to make you be who you're not. Be courageous. Being courageous doesn't mean you're not going to feel fear. It just means you're not going to be fearful. Again, being courageous doesn't mean you're not going to feel fear. You're not going to feel scared. But I don't want you to take on that identity, meaning I don't want you to be scared. You might feel scared, but don't be what you're not. Sometimes you're going to have to be courageous or do the thing you know you can do, even when you feel fear. Just do it anyway. How many times have you ever jumped off of a diving board? You felt scared, but you still jumped. Or waiting in that long line for that, or waited in that long line for that roller coaster ride. You might have felt scared when you got up there, but you know, I've come too far to give up now. I've come too far on this long line to just go to the top and then change my mind. Now, there are people that have done that before. I watched it. They waited in that long line. They waited. And as soon as they got to the top of the slide, they said, I can't do it. Man, even me, when I rode my roller coaster, and I said roller coaster because I don't do it. So when I did it one time, that was all I needed. I don't want to do it no more. But I know, don't pick at me. But when I got in that long line, what really made me get on that roller coaster was the fact that I waited too long. I waited too long to not do what I waited for. And I'm telling you, you waited too long to be an adult, not to wait the right way by being courageous. So I felt scared when I got on that roller coaster, but I still did it because I wasn't fearful. I was courageous. That's when courage is needed, in the face of fear. Most of the people that we study that have done great things, leaders, had to do it in the face of fear. It's easy to do it when you're feeling good, when you feel like, okay, this is easy. Playing it safe, kind of like, oh, that's easy. But when you do it, like it's easy to place a basketball game and score when nobody's guarding me. That's easy because I have nothing that's trying to take the ball away. But when you do it and you score when somebody is guarding you, that's like I mean when I talk about courage. The next letter in call is A, and that's apply. I want you to apply yourself. You hear that all the time, but people don't really say what it means sometimes. Applying yourself means take who you are and do the thing that you're supposed to do. That's all it means. It just means apply yourself. It means don't just sit there and do nothing. It means don't just be in the classroom and not be engaged, meaning don't be in the classroom and not be involved. It means try. It means take the risk to be great. It means just do something in the direction of what you know you're supposed to be doing. You might not necessarily get all the answers right, but apply yourself, meaning try. You put yourself on the job. Take the time to do what you can do. And the right teacher, the right parent, your parent, they'll help you develop into what you're trying to do. See, people, the painful thing about life is children. I'm getting excited and I'm getting so worked up on this part, y'all, because sometimes I feel like as children, you feel like no one is aware of your struggles. Sometimes children, you may feel like people aren't listening, but I want you to know, adults are always listening. Somebody is watching you. Don't feel like you're in this by yourself. But I am. No, you're not. Look at me, I'm talking to you now. And some of you, I may not even know you by name, but I'm talking to you because I want you to know that you do have somebody there for you. You got to just find them if you can't see them. But I am willing to believe that they're not too far away from you. Might be sitting right next to you right now listening to this with you. So don't feel like you got to apply yourself without somebody helping you apply yourself. You're too young to have all the answers. So seek help. And I'll tell you this, sometimes you don't have to even seek help. Sometimes they're already trying to help you. So let them help you. Apply yourself. Put yourself on the job. Put yourself on what you got to do. Get in there. Jump in the water. Get it done. Next one is L. Listen. C is courage. A, apply yourself. But L is listen. You gotta listen. Again, like I said, sometimes you may think you can't apply yourself, or you might think nobody wants to help you. But sometimes helping you is talking to you. And sometimes you're not helping yourself, is not listening. Listen. Listen to people when they're trying to help you. Listen. The power of listening is how you're going to get the right answers. And many times listening will help you get the right questions too. Listen, listen, listen. I want you to be more passionate about listening, watch this, than you are about talking. I want you to spend more time listening than talking. I have so many things happen in my life where if I didn't listen longer than I talked, I would not be where I am right now. That's why I'm talking to you now, because I want you to take time just where you can sit and just listen. You might have to pause the video and come back to it. You might have to do it while you're cleaning up, but it's kind of like a podcast. Just listen. Practice listening. I want you to do that today. I want you to practice listening before you speak. There have been times that I've listened before I spoke, when I wanted to speak before I listened, and I would have made myself look really foolish if I would have spoke before listening. Because once I listened, then I was able to get the right information so I can speak and know what I'm talking about. Sometimes when you speak before you listen, you may say something that the person you're talking to doesn't even need to know. But if you would have listened, you would have known that. Students, listen. And when you listen, the last L in call, then you can learn. That's it. You can learn. Learning is how you grow. Growing is not just getting big physically. Growing is getting stronger mentally. And the way you get stronger mentally is by learning, reading. I read newspapers. And students, you can read newspapers too. Newspapers aren't written on that high level many times, but you can read it too. Getting books inside of you, listening to YouTube videos on information that's going to help you become a great adult, and not just listening to information that's going to make you think smaller. Yeah, when you listen to things that aren't meant for your brain research says this. Oh, this I gotta almost stop on this because you might want to take a break and just go and say, I can't believe this. Brain research, people who study the brain, they say this. If you put things inside of your mind that is not going to help it grow, it can actually shrink. Have you ever broken your arm before or anything, or part of your body? When I was a fifth grader, I broke my arm. When I broke my arm, or I fractured my arm. When I fractured my arm, I had to wear a cast for 6 weeks. When I had that cast on for 6 weeks, when the doctor took it off, this arm was smaller than this arm. It scared me a little bit. I said, why is this smaller? It was smaller because I wasn't using it. And if you don't use it, you can lose it. Meaning if you don't use the muscles, not lose the arm, but if you don't use the muscles, whatever you don't use, if the muscles aren't being used, they're just gonna shrink. And this is gonna keep growing because I'm constantly using it. Even if I'm just doing things like this, or just moving or driving or whatever, this wasn't doing anything. So I'm saying that for your brain purposes. If your brain is not getting information inside of it that is supposed to help it to grow, and you put information in it that you don't need, the brain takes that and says, oh, I'm getting stuff inside of me that I don't need. So I'm not going to be used. So if your brain feels like it's not being used, it says, oh, you don't need me, and get smaller. I want you to allow your brain to be developed. When I say get smaller, the ability to think starts to get smaller because you're hurting your brain by putting things in it that is not going to help it to grow. But there's hope. When you learn, you reverse that. When you learn and you're reading books and you're listening to your teachers and your parents and those who mean you well, the brain says, oh, we got action. The brain says, oh, it's time, and that brain automatically. So it's not a shrinking process that never grows. It's not a process when you're listening to things you shouldn't listen to, where it's like, oh boy, I'm doomed. No. This right here, listen to me right now, is making you grow. It's making your mind grow. It's making your heart get stronger. Your courage get stronger. So learn, read books, listen to YouTube videos of reading books, of people reading books and saying things that you want to do, studying, or telling you what you should study. Learn. And the more you learn, the more you'll grow. Answer the call. CALL. Courage, apply, listen, and learn. Now we're here for you. If you ever need me past the video, I got you. Talk to your teachers, talk to your principal, talk to your parents about how you can get in touch with our department, because we got more for you. Again, you are a present overcomer because you're going to be a future champion. So I'll go ahead and call you a champion right now. Again, I'm Mr. John, helping you discover the genius inside of you. Take care.